Welcome in, everybody. Alabama is once again SEC champs, taking down Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs 27-24 in the 2023 SEC championship game. Jake, what an incredible win for the Crimson Tide. What an incredible game. That atmosphere felt electric just from watching it in my recliner. Unbelievable. Jake, I want to start by saying the end of the Nick Saban and Alabama dynasty was grossly exaggerated. And they proved it today with the win over Georgia in the SEC championship game and perhaps potentially punching their ticket to the college football playoff. What a win.
Man, Stacey, what a game, like you said. And I was with you. I was in my recliner watching the entire game. And, this team just finds a way to win. We was talking before we come on here, but, Jalen Milroe picked a bad day to be off his game. And then those last two drives, him and Isaiah Bond, I guess they just come out of the huddle and said, we're going to take over this game. And boy, did they.
Yep. It's unbelievable, Jake. I'll be honest with you. Milroe did not have his best game, except for when it mattered, Jake. I mean, he made the plays when it mattered. Clutch throw after clutch throw, the little flick that he made to Isaiah Bond to keep a drive going, to keep the Tide in it. Jake, without that, they're not SEC champs. So without the clutch play of Milroe and Bond, Alabama's not here. I mean, look, Alabama had more than their fair share of opportunities to kind of put this game away in the second half, but they just took steps backwards offensively in the second half and was not able to get the job done until crunch time, until they had to. And Milroe and Isaiah Bond delivered, and what an incredible win for Alabama. Like I said, the whole season, Jake, from the Texas game on, all anybody can talk about is that Nick Saban's done. Kirby Smart has overthrown him. The Alabama dynasty is over. And what does Alabama do? They just go back to work. They put their heads down, and they put together an SEC championship season. And regardless, Jake, I want to start by saying this. Regardless if the committee puts Alabama in or not, I cannot tell you how proud I am of this Alabama football team.
Yeah, I'm the same way, Stacey. I said in one of my group chats I was in, I said, this may be my favorite team that Saban's ever had, just from the growth of the team. And they played all season, and especially since that Texas game, like they had a chip on their shoulder. They had something to prove. I mean, they was hearing all the talk because we saw it and they heard it. I know a lot of the media pundits did not give us a chance against LSU. What happened in that game? And we come out with a 14-point win there. But throughout the whole season, like you mentioned, they was talking about how the dynasty's dead. Saban, is on his way out, and they just kept fighting and kept getting better as a team and gelling as a team. And now they're reaping the rewards of an SEC SEC championship and hopefully national championship potentially.
Yeah, you mentioned this being one of your favorite teams. I put a question out. Is this your favorite team under Nick Saban? Yes or no? I would love to hear your thoughts on that, everybody in the chat, and obviously answer the poll question as well. This team was wrote off like Chelsea Tide says, the team was wrote off in week 2. And, you can't count out Nick Saban. I mean, no. I even wrote a piece for Roll Tide Wire in the preseason about not doubting Nick Saban, and don't count Alabama out, because that's a dangerous game to play. Nick Saban is still a young man. I know he's 72 years old, but he's a young man, in spirit. He's in great health. He gets the most out of his guys, and the way he was able to kind of mold this team together following the events early on in the season is just incredible. And like I said, it's out of Alabama's hands now. They went 12-1, undefeated in SEC play, beat the 2-time defending national champs who hadn't lost in almost 30 games. And if they don't get in, that's on the committee. But I'm proud of this team regardless of what happens moving forward. So just cannot express how proud I am of this team and how they just kind of come together when it mattered and made the plays when it mattered. And that starts with Milroe, Jake, and he just continues to be a clutch football player for Alabama, and Isaiah Bond as well, Jake. I don't know how many yards Bond ended up with, probably around 70 or 80. And I think most of that was on that final drive. But just he come through in the clutch, Jake. And I thought with Jace McClellan out, Jam Miller and Rodell Williams really did a good job of holding that backfield together. You see Rodell Williams, 16 carries, 64 yards against that tough Georgia front is a great game. Jam Miller, 9 carries for 23 yards, but also had a touchdown reception in the first half. So I just thought this team, they didn't play their best, especially offensively in this game. But like I said, just something that's kind of been reiterated throughout this season. They made the plays when they had to make them.
Yeah, absolutely, Stacey. And I want to give a big shout out to those big nasties up front and the offensive line. Those boys played their absolute best today. I mean, they pretty much Milroe did scramble out of the pocket and kind of got himself in situations. But when the pocket was there, it was clean the entire game. I think there was only one mishap where they had a free rush that got to Milroe. Other than that, that offensive line, man, they have gelled, another unit that's gelled throughout the season. Kind of started out slow, but we have mentioned in the past how the defense or the offensive line usually starts out slow, early in the year, but they get better as they get gelled as a unit. And a big portion of that is Jaden Roberts, man. Him coming in and solidifying that right guard position, and you can just run behind him. He's a big old bulldozer, man. He played incredibly well when he got slotted to the starting position.
Yeah, Alabama's 2 guards were really good in this game, and I thought Caden Proctor, also played a really good game to be a true freshman in this situation. And of course, you know what you get with J.C. Latham, one of the best tackles in the country. But Jake, if this team is somehow able to get into the playoff, I think right now you got to like Alabama against who's in right now. I mean, I know Texas is probably going to get in, so there's a potential of a rematch there. To me, that would be Alabama's greatest threat in the playoff if they happen to get in the playoff. But we'll talk about that here in just a minute. I want to just look at this game, Jake. Milroe, I want to say this about Alabama's defense. I thought, considering the way Alabama's offense was so inconsistent in this game, the Alabama defense played really well. I thought they played a clean game. They forced turnovers. And look, I seen something from a casual football fan on X earlier this week talking about how Nick Saban doesn't have as disciplined a team as Kirby Smart and Georgia is. And I know penalties have been an issue this year for Alabama, but they talked about how turnovers were also an issue for Alabama. And I went back and looked. Not only did Alabama force more turnovers this season than Georgia has, they've actually committed fewer turnovers than Georgia has all year. Now, they do average about 2 more penalties a game, but you look here, I was right. Alabama wins the penalty battle and the turnover battle in this game. And the truth is, Alabama dropped about 4 interceptions in this game as well. Yeah. Alabama did something in this game that Carson Beck was not used to. He had to play with pressure on him. And so Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell, Justin Boyd, those guys moved the pocket a little bit, made Carson Beck get rid of it more or a little bit sooner than what he wanted to. And I thought that was a key in this game because Alabama was able to affect Carson Beck. Maybe not the sack numbers you like, maybe not the completing those interceptions when you got 2 hands on the football like you like, but credit to this Alabama defense for playing well for most of this contest.
Yeah, absolutely, Stacey. And 2 things I also want to point out as defensively. One, Trez Marshall played out of his mind tonight. He played really, really well. I'm just glad to see that against his former team. And man, this team defensively, when teams get in a 4th and short situation, they lock in and do not, for the most part,
They make you earn it. You got to earn it.
And there was, I know they got the 4th down completion right there at the goal line, get a touchdown. But they stopped them 3 times at the goal line, and then that 4th time we just couldn't get there. But we forced them early in the game on 4th down, forced a turnover on down. So this team, when 4th down comes along and you try to convert against Alabama, more than likely it's not going to happen.
No doubt. I'm going to look at our polls real quick, Jake. I asked, is this your favorite Alabama team under Nick Saban? Right now we have 15 no and 5 yes. I think that could change if this team somehow won a national championship. So that's one little caveat there. Another one is player of the game, Milroe, Bond, or other. 18 votes for Milroe, 7 for Bond. And then the other one is, does Nick Saban own Kirby Smart? And I asked this kind of in jest, but also, look, I know Kirby won the national title the last time they played against each other, and there's a lot of variables in that game that went against Alabama. So there's no need in touching on that. But now Kirby Smart is 1-6 against Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah. I mean, look, Kirby Smart has done a phenomenal job at Georgia. You don't win back-to-back national championships on accident. You don't win 29 games in a row by accident. They're a great football team. I knew once Alabama had a double-digit lead at halftime, the game was not over. Georgia was not going to flinch. They're a tough team. They play hard. They play physical. They were going to be in it to the end. I had no doubt. But once again, Alabama didn't flinch either, and they made the plays at the end to win the football game.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. That first drive for Georgia, they just methodically moved down the field, and I'm sure a lot of Georgia fans was like, okay, this is what they do, and myself, I was like, okay, that's their scripted plays. They come out, they ran them really well. I said, now we need to respond and see what the defense does throughout the rest of the game, and in that second quarter, man, that defense locked in.
They did.
And played really, really well. And, it was 17-7, I think at halftime, 7. And I was like, okay, I'm with you. Says the game's not over with yet. We got to play up to our ability and continue getting scores. And then the offense just had a lull in the third quarter, but the defense kept us in it for sure.
No doubt. The defense did a great job of getting the stops they had to get stops in. And so, kudos to Kevin Steele, and because this Georgia team has been an offensive juggernaut all season long. But we talked about it in our preview of the show of this game, Jake, on Tide Talk Live on YouTube, about how the best defense, on paper that this team has faced all season long, Georgia that is Ole Miss. So you think about the competition that Georgia's went up against offensively. It hasn't been that stiff. They haven't played a real tough defense all season long. And that kind of showed up today with Alabama making some key stops. And I know Brock Bowers was a little banged up, and so was McConkey, but those two guys still made plays in the game.
Yeah.
But Alabama, just like I said, both sides of the football, Jake, and this is what makes a good football team. This is what makes a team. This is what makes a complementary team. Both sides of the football make the plays when they have to make them. The defense gets the stops when they got to have them, and the offense converts first downs or touchdowns when they got to. And that's the sign of a great football team, Jake. And, you don't win the SEC by accident. You don't go 12 or 9-0 in SEC football games in one season by accident and go 12-1 overall. And look, I know Alabama lost to Texas. I'm not saying put Alabama in over Texas. I'm just saying this Alabama team is a completely different team than what they were in September early on in the season. But kudos to Texas. They did come in and get that win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I think, in my opinion, as we kind of shift our focus to what this committee might do in as far as the playoff goes, Jake, look, I feel bad for Florida State. They're in a bad situation. They may even be down to the third string quarterback against Louisville. And look, they may lose tonight and make the decision easy for the committee. But Jake, you can't tell me, and none of those committee members could tell me with a straight face that with their backup or third string quarterback, Florida State is one of the four best teams in the country. Right. And if it's truly about putting the four best teams in, you can't put Florida State in. I feel bad for those guys. I really do. I mean, I hate it for them. But it's football, man. Injuries happen. And I would say the same thing if Milroe was hurt. If Milroe was hurt, Jake, Alabama is not one of the four best teams in the country.
Right.
If Carson Beck was hurt for Georgia, they're not one of the four best teams in the country. You could say that about all the teams up top. If Michael Penix Jr. was hurt for Washington, they're not one of the four best teams in the country. So it's about putting the four best teams in that throughout the entire 12 to 13 game season proved to be one of the premier teams in the country. And I would want to challenge those committee members to look at anybody with a straight face and say that Alabama's not one of the four best teams in the country.
Yeah, absolutely, Stacey. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes tomorrow. But beating Georgia, who has won, like you said,
right now, this is the best win of anybody has in the country right now, all season long.
Right. Yeah. So that's got to weigh, be a factor. Now, Texas obviously should be in as well. It really hinges on how they're going to place them. will they put Alabama 4 and move Texas to 3? It's see how that goes. That way you don't get the matchup until the national championship game, perhaps. But at Washington and Michigan, if they win tonight, which they should.
Washington's already won. They're in.
Yeah, Washington's already won. They're clinched. But I'm talking about Michigan. That they should win tonight. But I still think Texas and Alabama are better than both of those teams right now.
I think Texas and Alabama are the two best teams in the country right now. I agree with that 100%. And I think if just right now, I think what the committee is going to do, assuming Michigan does what they're supposed to do, Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, and Alabama 4. I think that's what it's going to be. That's what I think it should be. But Jake, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be like Nick Saban. Alabama's done their part. Now they have no control.
Right.
Enjoy this win, Jake. Enjoy this SEC championship win over Georgia. Regardless of what happens moving forward, I can't express how proud I am of what this team has done and accomplished throughout this season. Really just proving a lot of naysayers wrong. They have that Lank term, let a naysayer know, and Jake, they've done that. This team just finds a way to win.
Mm-hmm. They battle hard in every contest that they played in this year, including that Texas game. They played well, but there were some blemishes, but they worked it out. That USF game I feel like was a turning point of the season, and from there, man, they just rolled.
Well, look, that Texas game, I think it's important for everybody to remember that Alabama did lead that game going into the fourth quarter. Alabama had 2 touchdowns called back on penalties in that game. So it's just that game was a lot closer than what the final score indicated. It actually played out a lot more like this Alabama-Georgia game did today, where it was kind of a back and forth affair. One team kind of had it for a minute, then the next team was playing well. But I just, to me, yeah, like Jay-Z MCG1 says, 8 beats 1. Simple math. At worst, Alabama's 4 seed. I actually think committee wants FSU to lose to eliminate the controversy in picking Texas or Bama. Well, I'm just going to say Texas and Alabama. I'm just going off what the committee says. And Boo Kerrigan, is that his name? Boo Kerrigan. He told Reese Davis last Tuesday night that it's about the 4 best teams, not the 4 most deserving teams.
Mm-hmm.
So, the 4 best teams, with the caveat that Florida State does not have their best player, is not one of the 4 best teams.
Right.
So, I think it may be controversial, but to me, it's simple. Michigan wins tonight. They're 1. Washington's 2. Texas is 3. And Alabama's 4. I mean, that's just – I honestly, I think it's pretty simple if you go by what the committee says they're going to do and put the 4 best teams in.
Right. And that's what the committee has talked about since they started. The 4 best teams, and not the 4 most deserving teams. It's the 4 best teams. And I'm with Jay-Z MCG1. 8 beats 1. They've got to be in because they're the 4 best teams in the country.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, I don't care what the committee says. Alabama's one of the 4 best teams in the country. I don't care where they have them tomorrow. I don't care what they say. Right. And like I said, I dare them to all be hooked up to a lie detector test and tell me they're not.
Yeah.
Trey Amos, no doubt.
Yes.
No doubt Cheeto Fingers 88.
Yeah.
Trey Amos played a heck of a game filling in for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Hopefully Kool-Aid's going to be fine. Probably more cautionary than anything. Looked like maybe he got hit in the head while the way when on the tackle he made. But man, just this team just steps up when they got to step up. And man, when Trey Amos has gotten in games this year, he has been locked down. He's been a great player. Should have had that pick against on that one play on the sideline. But just super proud of this team.
Yeah, anyway, they Amos, man, they attacked him as soon as he come in, and he had 2. He almost had a pick, but they attacked him right out of the gate, and I think it was in the end zone where he knocked the ball out of, I forgot who it was, might have been Brock Bowers' hands, But man, it was a huge moment because, you know, I think he's only a junior this year, so he'll be back next year. But you have, seriously, you know, look at this team. You have 3 lockdown corners on this team right now, and Amos don't get on the field a lot right now, so that is big coming for the team next year to have a lockdown corner already coming back to be there slotted number 1 corner.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I want to. I'm fixing to put up a poll in the chat for, you know, should Alabama be in the playoff, and I can't wait to see what everybody says about that. But I can't express the way this team has come together, and like the Trey Amos is just a prime example of what this team is.
Right.
Next man up. Just do your job. Make the plays when you have the opportunity to make the plays, and that's just what this team does over and over again.
Man, he was great tonight. Another guy I really want to target, Deontay Lawson's come up big in a couple of third down stops for tonight. So he played really well, and having him back really helps our rushing attack defense. You know, he's a ball hog, and he looks for the ball, and he made some really good plays tonight.
So far, we got 4 votes in that Alabama should be in the college football playoff. We'll let that go up for just a couple more minutes before we wrap the show up, guys. But just so proud of this team, Jake. I know we've said that ad nauseum on this show, but I can't express how proud I am of this team and how they just come together and you know, they just do what it takes to win. And there's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about a team that finds a way to win. I mean, it's just incredible what they've been able to accomplish. Nick Saban once again proves that he is the greatest coach of all time, and he ain't slowing down yet.
No, he's not, man. You know, I just can't say enough about this team, man. It's incredible what they have accomplished this season, and hopefully it's not over with yet. You know, we still got a bowl game regardless if we don't make it, but hopefully we get 2 final games and we get in the playoff, and we'll see how the season ends.
Yeah, I'm going to go through the polls one more time. Player of the game, the winner is Jalen Milroe, 18 votes to 9 over Isaiah Bond. Does Nick Saban own Kirby Smart? 23 yes, 6 no's. I'd like to know what the 6 no's mean by that. Is this your favorite? I mean, Kirby Smart's 1-6 against Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else you got to do to own somebody, but is this your favorite Alabama team under Nick Saban? 6 yes, 16 no. So no wins that one. I think there's still work to be done on that for some fans, which is completely understandable.
Oh, yeah.
And the final one, should Alabama be in the CFP? 100% of the fans say yes, which is 6 votes to none. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into our instant reaction show here on the Bleacher Report app. If you don't know, I am Stacey Blackwood. That's Jake Thomas. We are Tide Talk Live on YouTube, also free and available on podcast platform as well. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Been so much fun to do this throughout the college football season. What a great win for Coach Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide, taking down Georgia and Kirby Smart to win the SEC championship game 27-24 there in Atlanta. Been a lot of fun. Can't wait to get back with you guys real soon. But until then, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.